Warning. The following video presentation contains scenes of extreme deliciousness. Failure to either eat first or bring a snack to consume during the presentation could result in wanting to lick the screen or in some way act the fool. Ain't nobody want that. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK.
Hey folks, house is still standing. Haven't burned it down yet in the absence of Mrs. Waiso. Talked to her a couple of times. She's doing well, and she'll have some stories to tell when she gets back. But in the meantime, I'm hanging out here by myself, just kind of doing my thing. And when I was thinking about what to do today, something that had been on my mind for a while that I'd wanted to try making, at least. I've had it before, not in Canada, unfortunately, but was poutine. So I figured, okay, let's give it a shot. And the basic idea of poutine is very simple: fries, cheese curds, brown gravy. That's it. Like, it's that simple, right? And it is a staple of really more in the Quebec area and kind of eastern Canada. But in like doing my little bit of research on it and stuff, like even like the basic gravy is like, it's super common to use either straight up beef or a combination of like beef and chicken broth, like straight out of the can, and make a super simple gravy to go over it. So I said, okay, cool. Like, this is, something I could work with. Yes, there's still time to burn the house down, Scott. And I wouldn't really call myself a bachelor avocado cream KitchenAid. Certainly not acting like one. That's for certain. I've been avoiding going outside as much as possible because I can. So, at the moment, over the stove, I've got hot oil going. And I think this might be where the international incident begins. Because in every version of poutine that I've seen, and now I haven't seen them all, so I could be wrong, but every version that I've seen has them made over fries. And, well, I got tater tots. So I'm gonna make it over tater tots. And that's what the oil on the stove is currently heating up for. I should probably flip the temp thing upside down. What are we at? Like 2 something or other at the moment. It's heating up. As soon as we hit 375, we'll start frying. Oh, it's at 335. Nice. I have an alarm on it, so we'll fry up our tater tots. We'll make the gravy, and I was able to procure some cheese curds, some Wisconsin's own. Little salty, at the fact that this little package was as much as it was. Because there's no age on this, because cheese curds have yet to be pressed and aged in any kind of cheese, and so, yeah, I was a little salty about how much I had to pay for these. But we'll use them, and we're gonna do them over tots, and we're gonna make that gravy. As for the gravy itself, instead of using canned broth, I'm using a combination of the Better Than Bouillon beef and Better Than Bouillon chicken, and I've got it dissolved in some hot water here, and so that'll form the bouillon base for the gravy itself. And then we're gonna make a roux, so butter and flour, get that kind of cooked up a bit before adding our broth to it, and that'll finish off the gravy. It's gonna be pretty low key, but you know what? I don't want to offend Canada too much by doing tater tots, but please understand that this comes from a place of love, and it's what I got. So just the fact that, you know, I was able to score curds should, you know, buy me back a little bit of favor, as it were. So, yeah. Good times. All right. So I'm going to take stuff over there. So let's go over to the stove. I've got flour already measured out. I've got butter already aside. I've got a pan ready to go. I'm literally just waiting for the oil to come up to temp. One thing I am going to do is kind of shake out the tater tots first, just to try to avoid getting a whole lot of extra gunk floating around in the oil, because there's a few little floaties in there, but this is fry oil that I've used and strained. So I don't have a ton of tots, but probably end up, yeah, I'll show you what I'm doing. So I've got my spider here, so I might as well just, because it's got nice big holes. So all I'm doing is just loading it up and trying to get rid of any of like the additional like exterior ice, because that ice is just gonna spit and pop, and we don't need that kind of trouble. All right. Okay, good. So there we go. That's about how much tots were. Since it's literally just me eating. I'm not feeding Mrs. Hueso. It's just me. So I don't necessarily need a boatload of tots. Little girl, what is your major malfunction? Is somebody walking by? Was it a bunny? No, probably not. It's too early in the day. Bunnies don't, or at least the bunnies that we have around here, you don't see during the day. You only see them at night. So, there we go. All right. 365. We are almost there. I do have to say that I have been looking forward to making this, just because it's good, and yeah. So let's see. Is it? Actually, yeah, it's next weekend is when the Akibasho starts, which is the September sumo tournament starts. So next weekend, I need to do a little bit of research and try to figure out like what like a very typical thing for the area is, because if I remember correctly, the tournament's being held in Tokyo. But where in Tokyo, I don't know. So I want to try and find something that's pretty indicative of the area and make that to celebrate the beginning of the tournament. Oil's ready. All right. I do have some floaties. This is not going to be fun to clean up. All right. That off. Skim it while it's hot. Okay. Okay, gravy making time. Got my saucier here, and I'm going to add about a tablespoon of butter. And then once that's melted, I'm going to add about an equal amount of flour, so about a tablespoon. Hey, Ladintha, what's going on? What is it with me and the international incident? Well, that's a funny story. So it goes back to when I was in culinary school. I had a chef instructor, Chef Vu. A gentleman whom I greatly admire and love deeply. He's a phenomenal individual. And what would happen was I'd be, I was in his Asian cuisine class, and we'd be talking about, you know, typical things in the class. So like Japanese food, Vietnamese food, Thai food, Chinese, and all the variations thereof. And what would happen is I made the recommendation one time of roasting the bones for pho. Oh, there it is. Which, the thing you have to understand about pho is that the bones aren't roasted, okay? Pho does not have a, or at least pho bo does not have a roasted bone base. And so the joke became was that I was trying to start an international incident. By suggesting that, you know, I make such a radical change to a very famous and common recipe in Vietnam. And that was the first. Later on, it would end up being, you know, I would recommend, like, well, hey, what if we did this to this? And it was like, everything that I did, like, anything that I recommended that was not, you know, within the rigid confines of the cultural, the culture of the recipe was considered an international incident and a war crime. And I would, like, have to apologize to, like, he would genuinely make me apologize to, like, Japan or Vietnam or whatever. It was funny and I loved it. Alright, so I'm just waiting for this to come up to a boil. And this should thicken up nicely. And they'll be ready to go. So that's where the running joke of me constantly, oh, the cook cam is frozen. That's awesome. So you saw nothing. That is amazing. Thinking I might want to add a little bit more flour. It's looking a little thin. The camera, yeah, Thai food, absolutely. That is a bummer that the camera, like, completely froze up. So you didn't see anything that took place over there. So yeah, I just added a little bit of additional flour to kind of get it thickened up. It would help if I had the mold. Tots into the bowl. Time for the squeaky cheese. These are big old curds too. All right. I feel like that's kind of an appropriate amount. I could be wrong. I don't know. International incident Poutine. Goes with Tots. It's sort of like, This is a really short stream. Yeah, I know. But, you know, I'm by myself this weekend. So it's okay. I think the tots probably could have gone for a bit longer. But I feel like the curds really need to be kind of in there a bit longer so they get really nice and soft. So yeah, it's okay. Although I can totally see how something like this would be awesome, like late at night or something like that. But okay, Poutine. Now that we've got that out of the way, onto the real international incident. Okay, so here's the situation. I got to thinking, and first of all, did y'all really think I wouldn't have fries of some kind? Give me a little credit. So what I have here, this is a bit of an experiment. I've wanted to kind of perfect hand-cut fries for a really long time, but it seems like every time I've made them, they've just been really disappointing. Because for me, the hallmark of a great fry is you have a really crisp exterior and a very pillowy, almost non-existent interior. And the way that, you know, your restaurants and everybody get these, and there's a couple of different ways. You see some places will do kind of a double fry technique, and what they'll do is they'll cut their fries usually out of russets or very starchy potatoes. Kennebec is another very popular breed that gets used for making fries. It's the potato that Five Guys uses. Never mind that their execution sucked. Yeah, I said. So, a lot of times what'll happen is they'll cut the fries, they'll soak them, and you see them kind of do this in In-N-Out, where they'll go into the water bath, they'll soak, they'll spin them off. In-N-Out will fry them directly and be done with it. Really kind of the key for that particular methodology is frying them first at about 300 degrees Fahrenheit to really cook them through, and so they're just kind of a pale yellow. You're not trying to get them really crispy, you're just trying to cook them. Then pulling them out, draining them, letting them cool down to let the starches gelatinize, and then going back and doing a second fry at a higher temperature, okay? Which, frying twice, okay, cool. But whenever you buy, like, say, frozen fries at the market, right? They've already been kind of fried and then frozen, and that freezing is kind of the key. Well, I found in kind of doing a little bit of research, there was a methodology of somebody recommending cutting your fries and then getting a pot of boiling water, adding the fries. Hey, Accidental Chaos, what's going on? Adding the fries to the boiling water, like you pulled it off the stove, you have the pot of water that was just boiling, put the potatoes in there and let them soak for 30 minutes. And it helps kind of cook the exterior and get rid of the excess starch. You drain them, you dry them, and that's what I've done. I've drained them, I've dried them, and then I got them into the freezer to kind of really get them all gelatinized. It's going pretty good, Accidental Chaos. So that is kind of experiment number one. And so I need to get these things fried up to kind of see how they turn out. As for everything else, I thought to myself, I'm a big fan of, like, say, carne asada fries, right? So this is what you make when Mrs. Waste is away. To be honest, like, when Mrs. Waste is away, most of the time it's just kind of like, honestly, I usually fridge dive. I don't, like, I'm gonna make something big and spectacular. No, I usually, like, fridge dive, just so then that way I don't have to deal with dishes or anything like that. And part of me was thinking, it's like, well, what can I make that is something that maybe she's not terribly crazy about, that I enjoy? But this was something that kind of came up, and thought to myself, okay, well, let's, give this a shot. So if it works out, then I'll make it again for her. But back to my thought, I'm a big fan of, like, carne asada fries, right? So, fries, cheese, carne asada, like, salsa, whatever. So I thought, okay, well, that's cool, but that's carne asada fries. That's not poutine, right? So I'm thinking, okay, well, what do I have? Because again, I'm thinking leftovers. I've got that leftover roasted veg and the Mississippi instant pot roast from Thursday. So I'm thinking, okay, we'll make the fries, we'll throw on the veg, we'll throw on the meat, we'll throw on some curds, we'll throw on some gravy, and maybe even a couple of fried eggs. And that's what I'm aiming for, okay? That is what I'm aiming for, is a kind of a fully loaded, like a pretty hearty meal kind of thing. And that's the game plan, that's what I'm gonna do. I do, however, need to wash this real quick and kind of restage everything, so then that way we can start frying up the fries. I've got my oven on because not only to heat up the leftover vegetables and the Mississippi instant pot roast, but after frying these and letting them drain, I'm going to pop them back into the oven to kind of refresh, so then that way when everything comes out, it's all nice and piping hot. So that's the game plan. That's what we're doing. And let's get started. So I need to get this washed because I'm going to need this. Now, and I know you're thinking, oh, hey, you could just, use that gravy. Yeah, but I don't want this gravy. So I'm doing something else. The other thing is I only got like a couple of cheese curds. This is all I got. So, and to be honest, I didn't even get that until after I posted this morning. Because I couldn't find, the place that I went to that I thought had curds didn't have curds. So I went to another place, and what they had was a little baggie. So as a backup, I got Colby Jack cheese, which isn't it's not curds, but it's close in terms of being a pretty young cheese that isn't gonna be like, it's not aged, it's not hard, it's not like crazy strong flavor. So that's the cheese that I'm gonna use for this. Just so everybody knows kind of what's going on. I'm thinking, okay, so we're still stuck on that. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Have I already explained how this is a potential war crime? So the Accidental Chaos, the reason why it's a potential war crime is because the version that I made before you got here uses tater tots as opposed to actual fries. This version, I mean, I'm loading it up with stuff, but then I was told earlier on Instagram that it actually, adding stuff to the top of Poutine there's a time-honored tradition of it, which is interesting because there are some that I've like communicated with or read that, you know, will swear that Poutine is just fries, curds, gravy, period. It's not, you know, frou-frou, like, loaded or anything like that. So loading it up is kind of borderline. And then using a Colby Jack cheese as opposed to actual curds, again, it's kind of like, but kind of like what I explained earlier is that really all of this is coming from a place of love. There's no hate, there's no malice, there's no ill will towards Canada. So that's where we're at. Okay, I'm gonna give this a quick wash. We're gonna put the no, time out. Hey, Night Songs. That's what it is in Montreal. Simple. Yeah, exactly, Night Songs. It's simple, and that's how it is, right? So anything other than that can be seen as an affront. But so because my camera over the stove has decided to freeze up, I want to restart my program. So if everyone just hang tight, I'm going to stop the stream, restart the software, and then come right back. So I should be back in about a minute, because all I'm doing is restarting this. So everyone just hang tight, okay? So I will see you in just... Okay, it looks like we're back. Okay, we see my hand, so that's a good sign. The camera feels warm to the touch, and I don't think it's from me heating up the oil. So my guess is that the camera might be overheating, and that's why it's decided to freeze up. So I'm gonna unplug it post-stream, and hopefully that'll kind of solve everything. But we're doing all right. Okay. As for Night Songs, crispy crowns. I'm not familiar with crispy crowns, but the idea of flat tater tots, I would think that it'd be great. If it's a fried potato of some form, I don't see why it wouldn't work. Like, why it wouldn't be good. Because fried potatoes in all forms are delicious. Okay. Alright, that is on and coming back up to temp. It's currently at 276, which I set it, turned it upside down so then that way everybody can read it. So there we go. I think it's our writer who makes them. They're thinner and flat. Interesting. I've not seen them, but that doesn't mean anything. Okay. This is riveting content, I know. Okay. Saucier is clean, ready to go. Oil is at 274, so we got a little bit to go. Let's bust out the leftovers. Temp's going down on the oil. You know, yeah, it'll do that, like, as the oil kind of circulates around. Now, bear in mind, that was at 375 when I fried those tots. So, you know, dropping temp and everything. So I got some pepperoncinis, there's some mushrooms, there's some onion. Like, I think, because I've already, like, eaten a fair amount of this stuff. This is literally the last of it, so, you know, good use of leftovers kind of thing. And then I've got the roasted veg, which, you know, is just going to be delicious. And that's not going to take all that long to heat up. Where are we at? 280. Okay. Oven's good to go. This is good to go. We're ready to fry up stuff here. Saucier is good. It's gonna get a plate. Turnip plate. Whoop. There we go. So I'm gonna let it hang out over here. I will probably, I'll pop the meat and the veg into the oven. Probably after, like, the fries come out of the oil. But I'm going to put the fries into the oven right before serving just to kind of reheat them a little bit. And I think in the gravy this time, I'm going to leave the chicken part out, and I'm just going to use the beef. So, leading up to the Akibasho, the September sumo tournament, the Japanese Sumo Association releases a few weeks ahead of time what's known as the Banzuke, or the sumo standings, and it ranks the wrestlers in each of the 6 divisions and assigns them kind of their rank. And so it's a time when you find out if a wrestler has moved up in the rankings, or possibly even up a division, or in reverse, maybe they've gone down a division. So, like, it's a big deal when somebody from Division 3 moves into Division 2, because starting at Division 2, that's when the sumo wrestlers actually start making a salary. Divisions 3 through 6, even though they're considered professional wrestlers, they're not actually paid, but their food, room, and board is covered by the stable that they're in. Probably the best way to explain the stables is, if think of it like a sports team, so basketball, football, hockey, whatever. But instead of the team competing together, everyone is competing individually. So it's almost like an all-star game sort of thing, where it's like, you know, so and so representing this stable is competing in this particular match, in this particular area. And it's significant because with the COVID rules that have been going on, especially for the last couple of tournaments, what's happened is the ruling by the association has been that if a wrestler tests positive, then the entire stable is out. Okay? So that means from top division all the way down, anybody that's part of that stable is out. And it's really messed with the standings. And a lot of people were wondering, like, how how things were going to switch up. And so we saw like a couple of promotions from Division 2 into Division 1. There were a couple of demotions from Division 2 into Division 3, which was kind of sad. Not wholly unexpected. And that sort of thing happens usually if the wrestlers have like lost more matches than they've won over the course of the tournament, for like consecutive tournaments. Specifically for one wrestler in particular, it's a gentleman by the name of Kaisei. That's the name that he goes by. It's a Brazilian gentleman. And he's someone that, you know, we've started to really root for, but he's been hurting quite a bit for the last few tournaments. And after this last one especially, it was like we were pretty sure that he was going to announce his retirement. Well, the day after the band Decay came out, and his ranking fell from Division 2 into the number 1 seat in Division 3, he announced his retirement. And so he's going to start coaching, and he's going to be fine. His wife, I believe, is works as a translator in the Japanese video game industry, translating the Japanese games for the Portuguese market. And he's announced that he's going to start coaching, so he's going to be fine. But it's a bummer to see him go, because he was somebody that we enjoyed watching. Even it's kind of like the underdog that you would root for and really want to win, even though you kind of knew that he wasn't going to. So, see, Accidental Chaos has had an idea for me, so I'm kind of curious what that is. And are we at 3:59? You're not quite there. We're close, not quite. I never learned how to read. What's your idea? I'm better curious. Okay, I can see the oil shimmering, and I can see the temp actually going up, so that makes me happy that that camera is actually still working. Trying to make foods from animes. Ah! Was that the binging with Babish guy? There's a series on YouTube, and I want to say it's by the same guy that does Binging with Babish, where he's making stuff from like different animes, like Naruto's like ramen bowl that is like his. Like, I'm down to clown. Like, I love anime, I love food. Yeah, I'm down to clown with trying that. It would be kind of interesting, like what kinds of food specifically. All right. I've been watching a lot of this one YouTube chef, PK, and he does a lot of interesting stuff to animate food. Ooh. Accidental Chaos, drop a link into the Discord for me. I'll check it out. No, I would not want to hop into that jacuzzi. Give you a second. Yeah, no worries. Like I said, just drop into the Discord. I'll check it out later. Got my salt. Well, it feels like we're pretty close. I'm really hoping these turn out good, because if not, it's going to be a massive disappointment. I just linked the YouTube channel page. Yeah, it's totally fine. Hey, Zodic, what's going on? Often cringe when I see fresh cut fries on a menu because they usually aren't made right and soggy. Yeah, exactly. Scott. Normally, when you see the fresh hand cut fries on a menu or something like that, it's usually, a lot of disappointment. Really is what it is. And I knew cutting these earlier today, when I made them as thick as I did, I knew they were going to take longer to fry. But I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay that it's going to take longer. But, like I said, I'm really hoping that they're not like some awful... The other big thing is coated fries. Yeah. I'm also hate that. Great example is Carl's Jr. On the the West Coast, Hardee's on the East Coast. Back in the day, their fries were some of my favorite, and I loved them. But then they changed the recipe to kind of like the hand cut, and they were, from what I remember, I think they were tossed in a little bit of potato starch before frying, and it got to the point I never order fries from there anymore because I hate them. Hi, puppy. Hi, little girl. Okay. I think. Hitting them with a little bit of salt. Okay. A coated fry. So a coated fry exotic. It like Burger King makes them and serves them. Carl's Jr. does. It's when a fry, instead of being just a straight cut potato that's then fried, they toss it in some kind of powder to make it crispy. Those are a coated fry. Okay. Well, it looks like we're about halfway there with these. Yeah. So these guys are still, basically, I mean, the potato's cooked, but it's not that fluffy texture that I want. So I'm going to probably, after this batch comes out, the first batch I'll probably throw back into the oil. And if that doesn't work, I've got some crinkle cut fries in the freezer I can use. Thankfully, it does tell me a lot. Because in making this, I kind of wondered, looking at the potatoes once they came out of the water that I kind of blanched them in. And I thought to myself, actually, what I probably should have done is kept the water boiling and then blanched them until they turn that kind of white opaque. And then pulled them out and cooled them down. So the next time I do this experiment, that's what I'm going to do. I got crinkle cut because, well, crinkle cut is, blanch is a partial cooking. Yeah, exactly. Oh, so blanching night songs, what it is, it's when you're taking a food of some kind and you're briefly dunking it in boiling water, not to cook it all the way through, but like in the case of, like broccoli is a fantastic example. You're dunking it in the hot water literally long enough in order to free the oxygen that's kind of bonded to the outside, and it turns bright green. It's not cooked all the way through, but it's kind of par cooked a little bit. Well, the oil's at 10. Yeah, so like right now the fries as they are, I would consider them like oil blanched because they're sort of par cooked and they're not necessarily all the way cooked, having that really nice pillowy interior that we want. Is that what's done before freezing stuff, but different from quickly steamed? Kind of. I just wanted to get those into the bowl for easy transfer, and I didn't get... Anyways. When you're... So, like, frozen peas, for instance, is a great example. The process for that is known as IQF, or individually quick frozen. And the, like, peas, like, fruit is a lot... This happens to corn, all sorts of things. What happens is they lay them out on kind of, like, large trays, and they get frozen in a freezer that is way colder than, you know, your home freezer. We're talking, like -100 kind of thing. So you're trying to freeze them very quickly, and what that does, hey, Lumpy Pickle, what it does is it helps preserve that freshness of the vegetation, and because the ice crystals form so quickly, they don't have time to get really big and destroy the cell structure. So then that way, when you get some of these frozen vegetables and fruits and stuff, they're really well preserved because it goes through that process. Now, there are products that are out there that are, like, especially like the steamer ready kind of stuff, it's like they're blanched really quickly. So it's like, they're very quickly dunked into hot water in order to kind of start the cooking process, but then they're flash frozen. So then that way it doesn't have time to kind of degrade. And then when you go to make it later, you know, it's going to be in great condition. So that's, hey, Wolfie Metal Beast. So there's a lot of stuff that gets done in the frozen foods industry. A lot of times, like, the frozen foods will get, like, kind of a bad rap in terms of the quality, but if you're getting just, like, straight, like, fruits and vegetables and things like that, usually it's fantastic. So no big deal. Family camping trip. Oh, right on, Lumpy Pickle. Yeah. Is Joe out there with you, Pickle? So the oil, without noticing, has gotten very hot. Hotter than I would have liked to have let it. Grizzly Pickle. Lumpy Adams. Yeah, it's at 402. Like, I didn't realize it had gotten that high. So I turned the fire... Actually, I should just turn it off. Okay, so the stuff in the oven is almost heated. Poutine, yeah, exactly. Well, we've already had a little bit of an international incident. I made the very basic version, but I used tots. Kind of as like a feint. Mrs. Oyso and I were talking earlier in the week, you know, in preparation for heading out of town. We had a funny haha idea that the intro, like the whole stream would look different, like it was just static and noise and stuff, and then when I popped, like when the camera actually turned on for me, like there'd be like a fog in the kitchen. I'd have like a tie as a headband, I'd like a makeshift poncho, and have a chef's knife strapped to a walking stick, like, you know, just things have gone wild since she's been out of town. We laughed and thought it'd be a pretty funny idea, but I'm like, that's a lot of work. Maybe in the future. Okay. We'll give those a little bit longer. I think I'm going to refrain on the crinkle cuts. They may not be perfect, but I think for how would you crinkle your hand-cut fries? So funny thing, there's an actual crinkle cutter, and if you look at the profile of a crinkle cut fry, it's got that wave. It's a cutter, like a knife, that's literally a wavy knife, and you use it to slice through stuff. I do not own one. Avocado Green KitchenAid had one. You see them a lot in like big fruit carving kits, just to kind of get that kind of texture. But yeah, that's totally how they do it. Is they would just use that crinkle cutter and yep. All right. Those be done. I'm going to pop these in the oven just to be well for a little bit. Move that out of there. Well, hi, Jane. Oh, I know, it's almost dinner time for you. I gotta fry up a couple of eggs to go on top of this. But we'll bring everything together and assemble. Not many kitchen tools Decay doesn't have. Is it on my kitchen list? No, it is not on my kitchen list. I do not want a crinkle cutter. Okay. Since we're going to need to assemble this. So that and that. So I'm just gonna fry up a couple of eggs, sunny side up, like, you know, kind of the fried brown little edges and everything. That's gonna go on top of everything. Did I get squeaky cheese? Well, yeah. But I'm pretty salty about how much this little packet was. It's doesn't make me very happy because it was pricey for this little itty bitty pack. And believe me, I did think about the next time I'm up in Seattle, I'm going to go to Pike's Market and hit Beecher's and get their curds, since they're literally made right there. Hey, Jane. Okay. Excuse me, Jane. Eggs be popping. Boom. All right, time to put the gravy together. Except I'm not making gravy. Oh, I did. Ladies and gentlemen, now we get to the actual war crime. I'm not making gravy for this. I'm not putting cheese curds on it. We're making liquid sex Canadian style. That's right, I said it. Liquid sex Canadian style. We're taking that cheese, we're making a delicious sauce, and we're adding some of that beef bouillon to it in order to give it that gravy, you know, that kind of beefy flavor and stuff. But then it's just going to be liquid love over the whole thing. It's going to be glorious. Trust me. So I've got already measured out my heavy cream. I'm going to give it a little extra dash so it's the container and everything. Got my sodium citrate already measured out. I've got grated Colby Jack cheese, and we're going to throw in these cheese curds, and it is going to be glorious. Okay. So heated up the heavy cream. We've added the sodium citrate to it. We're just getting it dissolved. I'm going to add in a touch of the Better Than Bouillon beef base. All right. Got that coming up. All right. Let's start adding some cheese curds. Colby Jack, we just alternate until everything is incorporated. And it's just the heavy cream, the sodium citrate, a little bit of that beef base, and the cheese. But it's the best of both worlds. The cheese curds and the gravy. Normally I use shredded cheese, like adding the curds, they're a little big and so they take a lot longer to break down. Shreds integrate and melt into it really, really nicely. But I'm okay if we got some curdy lumps. I think that is still very much in the spirit of things. Okay. Got our fries here. We got our vegetation meat. And lastly, we got this liquid love. Okay, so let's plate. Come on, get on there. You too. Alright, so we got our fries. Roasted vegetation. Now our Mississippi instant pot roast. All right. Now, you know what? I'm gonna give it a smash. Lastly, cheese curds. Couple of fried eggs. Oop, lost some cheese. It's cheesy. It's beefy. It is liquid sex Canadian style. And a couple of dabs of hot sauce, because you got it. War crime poutine. I am very much looking forward to this. Oh! Something special to drink? Most of the time, you would consume poutine, usually with like a beer or even like a hard cider. I went with a sparkling cider, one that's had no sugar added, so it's a bit on the drier side. So then that way it can cut through the richness of everything, because this is going to be a pretty rich and heavy meal, let's be honest. But there we go. Let's give this a taste real quick. Yeah, there's a touch of sweetness there, but not a ton. And it certainly does cut through, which is good. Alright. Let's tuck into this. Little bit of everything. That is just delightful. It is. Of course, it's like super rich, but oh man, some of that egg yolk in there. That cheese sauce and everything. That is the stuff. Cheers, folks. I'm very happy with this war crime. The only thing that would have been better is if my fry experiment had gone off like I had wanted it to. The fry it's not as crispy as I would have liked. Would Mrs. Waisel like it? In a significantly smaller quantity, I believe so. Because there's nothing in this that she's not a fan of. But I'm thinking the next time I try making these fries, I'm going to want to either blanch them or maybe even try microwaving them to kind of cook them from the inside. But I mean, I'm gonna eat this whole plate anyways. I am going to put a hurt on this. Yeah. There's nothing not to like in this. But I feel like, especially with that cheese sauce, like the possibilities are endless. Like a fried chicken one, almost like a chicken katsu kind of thing with a cheese sauce. Maybe even something like a bit of a tomato sauce even. That's good stuff. Okay, folks. I've never had an egg that wasn't scrambled. Really? Over hard and bacon fat? Nice. Yeah. Well, I like the runny yolk in this particular circumstance. Because once it gets mixed in with everything, it's quite good. But if you want to have them fried hard, you can absolutely do that. Let's see. I'm just looking to see who's on. Oh. I thought that individual was on. Apparently I missed them. Let's see. Rick Samurai. This is kind of a take on Poutine, is what we're looking at here, Rick. Except instead of gravy and cheese curds, I made a gravy-based cheese sauce. Yeah. I was just looking at who to raid. Treat for the dogs. Come here, puppy. Nope, let's change the camera so you can actually see the dogs.
Let's get weird, folks. Come on.
Hi, dogs. Is there any beard hairs in it? Probably. But, you know, at least they're my beard hairs. So. Anywho's, thanks everyone for popping by today. Have yourself a wonderful evening. Thank you so much to the lurkers, to anybody else who's hanging out. Have yourself a wonderful evening. And I will catch you guys on Tuesday. And then next Saturday, we'll be doing something to celebrate the new, the start of the new sumo tournament. So, have a good night, folks. Love you all. Take care.